All right. Hello, everyone. I'm glad y'all can join me this early morning for the morning watch. Um, and Had an earlier show with members and everything. And I see that some of them showed back up here. It's good to see Fuza, Jocelyn, Bruce Wayne's mom, Dave. Yes, Dave, I got the Mindy West email and I'm looking at it. I'm just a little bit behind. Um, and is it possible to get DNA from rope? As far as I know, you can get DNA from any type of surface with, they got some technologies now that's a lot better than what it used to be. And there's processes for anything and everything as advancements are made in science. Jocelyn, and yes, and Susan's correct about skin cells. Absolutely. Some of the ropes, anything that's abrasive, can take those skin cells and hold them. Jennifer, how you doing this morning? All right. Before we get started, let me address anyone that's going to be coming in or watching this video later date. We thank everyone for stopping in, and as always, respect each other in chat and enjoy your time here. Respect mods, families, and each other, and everything is absolutely. We want you here to debate any type of opinion you have, especially this time of morning, because we are a different type of individuals. Each and every one of us is up after midnight on the graveyard shift, and we want to enjoy our time together. But let me do a little brief introduction for people that might catch this show for the first time. I'm Steve. I'm a retired law enforcement officer. Had 20 years of service. Started my career off in the jail, went to the road, and then went into investigations. Excuse me. During my 20 years, I had training from SWAT all the way to becoming a state certified crime scene technician, which helped my investigative career. And I handled cases from thefts all the way up to homicides. And then after I retired, I found the true crime world and decided to try to become the best ambassador for law enforcement that I could, and see if I couldn't show people and the side of law enforcement and how we look at certain things. I'm not here to defend law enforcement because as we've seen lately in the headlines, there's some things going on that's not right, and they're going to have to adjust and fix these issues because it's absolutely does not benefit the Constitution and what we swore to uphold. And I'm absolutely against some of these criminal activities and these criminals that are wearing badges. It's absolutely a shame. And but anyway, for tonight, we're going to be talking about two cases on opposite sides of the country. And as always, just a short presentation this morning because there's a lot of news out there. But one of the things that really came to highlight today, everyone that's over on the East Coast, especially here in Georgia and South Carolina, we're watching the Murdaugh homicide prosecution for the homicide of his son Paul and his wife Maggie. As always, whenever someone's being prosecuted for a homicide, the defense starts off and they lead where it's at in the court system, because you have to prove a man is guilty. He's presumed innocent, and such as Murdaugh is, and until proven guilty. And so the defense starts off at a little bit higher, and then it's the job of the prosecution to overtake that presumption of innocent and prove him guilty. And so far, up until today, the prosecution struggled. Now today they swapped some good blows with the defense, and I believe they made a lot of progress today. And it was very interesting of some of the things that were brought to bear. They had the prosecution had excellent expert talking about the cell phone data, and absolutely knocked a home run. And I was worried there for a minute when the defense came up and was questioning and about the orientations of the phone and some of the movement of it and what did that mean. And I thought for a second there they were making headway because they were trying to say how was it possible for Alex to be in two locations at once. And then they brought the redirect came in and they said, now when the screen's off, it doesn't do that. And so they were able to explain it and knocked it out of the park. And then later tonight, I learned as I was watching Mob Crew's show that the second video of Snapchat came out, and it was showing this image about an hour prior to the homicides of Alex, if this is true, is wearing a different clothing. And then after when he just calls 911 just a few hours later, he's wearing a different wardrobe. And we know for a fact that he's wearing the wardrobe with the t-shirt and shorts. And the other Snapchat video that's been released shows that he's wearing different clothing. And that is extremely interesting. And then when you bring in the fact that Paul's best friend, who's Alex's son, that was died at that location, that Rogan was having a conversation, Snapchat with him that evening. And during the Snapchat video, there's some voices heard on there. And this young man, Rogan, who was best friends to Paul, knew the family since the time he was a small child. And he identified that Alex was at the scene of the homicide just minutes prior to the phones going motionless and ending all communications, which is huge due to that Murdaugh had said that he was at home napping. In my career, people do not lie except for one reason, that they're trying to conceal something, such as being involved in certain types of crimes. And that would see an evidence that would lead one to believe that is the case in this one. But anyway, let's go back up right quick and see, try to keep up with chat. I don't want to get too far behind, guys. We got some pre-game. Fusa says, I got some pre-game coffee. Absolutely. I'm glad. I do too. Okay. And good to see Pigeon Max here. Let me try to get in here. Figure if I can get my chat going. Here we go. And Bible group, hey, good to see you. Says it's 44 degrees there. Man, I hate that it's cold. We don't want cold weather. Jennifer, glad to see you. And let's see here. Polygraph, good to see you. Yvette, good. Nina. Oh, man. I see you, Jeff. We are doing well. Paris, good to see you. Man, there's a lot of people up late at night tonight. Ramona, I'm glad you made it finally. And let's see here. Jeff Razor, good seeing you. Y'all, you got that Georgia in there. Y'all. Mary Callahan, Paris, good to see you. Yes, early on, Jeff, you're right. The trial was twisting and turning, and as always, like I said, the prosecution was behind, and that changed a little bit today. And I don't know how the defense is going to fight this, because when you have all these people that's going to get up there and state that is Alex's voice. But not only that, we have to look at from law enforcement that even if the conversation that's caught on that Snapchat of them at the dog pens, you have three voices there. And even if you couldn't identify that third voice, which is identifiable by family friends, and I'm sure there's going to be other family members, and maybe even Alex's other son saying, of course, that's his father's voice. But we have to look at in what context and the environment and things that are going on in that environment, that even if you couldn't identify that voice, you can tell from the sense of the conversation exactly the feeling of the family, of the people are discussing. You have one individual in a pen working with a dog, trying to look at its injury, and talking calmly. You can hear his mother outside having a discussion about a dead chicken, and just natural things going on. Nobody's hyped up. Everybody's just having a calm conversation. Whereas, and then you have this third voice. And let's say, imagine for a moment that we didn't know, or it hadn't been reported that that was Alex's voice, and that it was someone that other than Alex. There were still no signs of danger or excitement in the voice of Maggie or in the voice of Paul, and which tells you a lot that that third individual was part of the group. And so when you have a group of people, regardless of size, and everybody is conversing in a normal tone, nobody's excited. Give me a little coffee there. And everything is as no one's expecting any type of trouble. And that's exactly what you see here. And they, both Paul and Maggie, had no idea that within minutes their lives would be ended, which is absolutely horrible. And but that's the way things happen so much that you see. And it takes a certain type of individual that would plan such an event. And we find out, of course, that has been reported because, as always, Alex is presumed innocent until proven guilty. But there's, he has a lot of indictments, and he's pretty well, facing all different types of crimes, which doesn't mean just because you're facing other crimes means that you're guilty of this homicide. But there is reasons within all those cases that would build one towards a certain motive of frustration and building up and emotional, and that would put someone over the edge. And there's a lot of different possibilities of what was going to happen at the dog pens that night. And I think it was planned, for the fact that if it wasn't planned, how did and why would Alex's phone be turned off or cease to move during a certain time period? If his phone had stayed active, that would be a different story. But his phone was deactivated, and he says he was at home asleep, which is not a part of the storyline now that we have discovered. That was just a ruse, and it was an attempt to build an alibi or a disassociation of the crime scene, and so that he could claim he's innocent, or that's the way it appears. So we have to look at those issues. And Razor, great job by Paul Friend Rogan today. Absolutely. That young man was overcome with emotion. And let's see what we got there. The screen is at the wrong setting. I can barely see it there, but just getting older. But but he did a marvelous job in controlling his emotion and getting his point across. And there was a communications between Alex and him as he walked away, that the Alex, I think, mouthed thank you to him. And so it's absolutely something that at some point in the lives of all these people that are testifying, especially that have relationships with that family, that for many years their lives were normal up until this absolute horrendous crime occurred. Let's see what else we got here. Yeah, for some reason, this case isn't one I'm super into, not sure why. the reason I'm into it more than anything is because of Delphi. There's so many things that are parallel that we're going to see in this case, that we will see in Delphi. And what got me into it was when the firearms expert was qualified and was discussing the information about the shell casings. And I got into it on that. And then I saw some other things and that reminded me of my career. And then I saw some disappointment. Some of the crime scene processing that happened up there by SLED, I was extremely disappointed in. Especially when you have an expert that gets on the stand and agrees with the defense that no, they didn't follow protocols. And when you start saying you didn't follow protocols or start processing evidence correctly, when does that end? At what point? And when did you follow procedure? And when did you violate? And so defense is going to have a heyday with that. And I already made a great point with it. But the second expert that came in today was, or yesterday, was far superior. Triple S. Why did it seem the prosecutor was attacking the last witness today? I didn't see the last witness that was on the stand today. I was up preparing some testing that y'all get to see. I'm building a regarding this case, some of the control tests. And so y'all are going to get to see that. Hopefully I'll have everything recorded. It's raining right now and I need to be out in the dry and in a open area such as what the crime scene was, so I can conduct these tests in the same environment. And I just hadn't been able to do that yet. So I didn't get to see the last witness. But sometimes prosecutors, it does appear that they are attacking witnesses if a witness has told them a certain way of what they knew, and then they change their story. And sometimes you have to force them to say what they don't want to say, because that witness, they have a relationship a lot of times with certain people in the courtroom, such as the defendant. And it's one thing when you interview an individual behind closed door and you have these people that some of them are intimidated, that they'll say freely certain things. And but this is the reason we have these trials, and you put a man in so that the accused gets to face his accusers. And it's a different thing when you have a man looking at you and you're telling either the truth or you're telling a lie. And that's what our court system is based on. And so, you'll see it, and I've seen it often, both by the prosecution and the defense, where these attorneys, they get upset when their witnesses falter one way or the other and aren't as forthcoming as what they were when they weren't in the presence of the accused. I thought the chicken was dead at that time. I know it was dead later that night, and it's been reported that it was dead on top of the coop. I don't know if it was seriously injured at that time. I don't remember hearing in the audio any type of clucking or anything by a chicken, so I was assuming it was dead at the time that they were discussing it. But I don't know if the chicken played any other part about, as you say, part of a ruse to lure Maggie and Paul. Don't know. It is interesting, though. Let's see. Let me get caught back up here with chat. Dave says that he's definitely different. He loves the night shift. I do too, especially in the summertime. Yes, and that is something that I found extremely interesting. And we'll be looking at some of that testing. Some of my controls um, will involve white shirts. So y'all know that that's got something to do with, hold on here. Synthetic blood and white shirts. So we got that coming up. And make sure this is, yes, this is a full bottle. So we got that coming up for this weekend. So that's a little tease, and so you'll know where we're going with some of the testing that's coming up. Jennifer says that she's a night owl too. Um, the gunshot residue, that is, some of that stuff can last a long time. They say it's sensitive on certain chemicals, and it could be, but some of those agents will last forever. And you're talking about an individual that is a hunter shooter that's in his vehicles, and like I said, I shoot several times a week, and I handle a gun I handle a gun every day. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that, and I still do, and always will. And why were the dogs kept in kennels? I'm not sure. I know the dog story. The Rogan was leaving his dog over there because his girlfriend, wherever she was living at this time, would not allow pets. And so he was having the dog kept there on the properties with the Murdaugh's family. And they have this large kennel. And when you have here in the South, it's a big thing. We don't have the quail population that we once had when I was a young man back in the 60s. I was just, I was born in the 60s, but I hunted birds my whole life. And we used to have quail, wild quail, and now they have pen raised quail. And I don't know if any of these dogs were trained for quail hunting or just duck hunting, but a lot of hunters that do hunt waterfowl or any type of game land birds, that you'll have those dogs. And they had a large kennel, and I don't know if they had people coming over for different types of shooting and different type of hunting throughout the year. Just don't know. Okay, I mean, that's how come people have dog kennels and hunting dogs here in the South. Yes, there is so much to this case, and it's not just this homicide case that's so interesting. It's the background of the family. And I guarantee you there's going to be some type of sensational movie made of this case. And it's so interesting. And I enjoy the understanding of people having, is a tragedy of the case. There's no doubt that we look at these cases and they're great tragedies, but they allow people to see how the court systems, especially the younger generations and the younger people, that as these cases come along, they can have an education. And that's the part that I appreciate that they get to see. And they're with the new platforms that are out there, the social media, and all these streamers that creators out there that are putting this out so that people can see how the court system works here, not only for our own citizens, but around the world. And it is such an educational piece of of everyone should have an understanding of how that court system works and how justice is um, dispensed, and see the trial processes, because it is extremely interesting and educational, and everyone should get a dose of it. Let's see here. Um, they weren't treated as pets though. Working dogs are not treated as pets, but the dogs, they absolutely, um, you know, and I really shouldn't say working dogs. Hunting dogs, they enjoy it as much as the hunters. And I know, regardless of how you stand on hunting and everything, but these animals, they learn, they love the pursuit of the game, and they will absolutely work their heart out to go and spend time, and they're loyal, and they love to spend time with you. It's much like your pets that's in your house. They just love to be around you and do what you want to do. Now, Jennifer, it sounds dreadful for the dogs. No, um, I mean, it's just like you, anyone that would go out there and take a ball and throw across your yard 100 times. The working dogs and the hunting dogs, they enjoy it just as much, of companionship and working, and um, it's just a relationship with animals. And like I said, regardless of how you feel about the hunting aspects of it, um, uh, is it is a sport. Let's see here. Yes, not all the time. They're kennel raised, and that's where they sleep. They feel comfortable. It's just like a lot of these kennels. They When they're in those kennels, it gives them a certain amount of comfort because you'll have crate. It's just like crate trained dogs that are inside dogs. Some of them, when it gets a certain time of day or night, or when there's a storm, they go to that crate. It's where they feel safe, and so kennels are that way. Um, Now, all our working dogs that we had when I was a kid, we didn't have kennels. They were farm dogs, and they had household guard duty in between hunting trips. And but that was before all the new regulations came in, and you have to now keep everything either kennel or on leases. Yes, pigeon is screaming. I missed that. Oh, Jill Downing. I really enjoy your perspective. Thank you, Jill. I appreciate it. So thank you so much for your support and everything. Means a lot to us, um, um, and I absolutely um, do this for a purpose to try to let people understand how law enforcement looks at these things. We don't really get law enforcement. We've seen it so much. We really don't get too emotional or in any aspects of our life, and but it is we still see the horror of these families when they go through this, and I've seen it, hundreds of times. Been there when people have lost loved ones, and not only just to homicides, but we all lose loved ones throughout our life. But sometimes in some of the cold cases, such as in some of my videos, and as I talk about some of the cold cases I work, those individuals, it's absolutely something that you wouldn't wish upon any human or your worst enemy. But thank you for your support, Joe. Let's see here. And yes, that snap from Rebecca, that Snapchat was such a normal, mundane family moment. It's awful to hear knowing what was about to happen. And you would never imagine those individuals, and both Paul and Maggie, they had no idea what was going to transpire in the next 4 to 5 minutes. Only one individual, if he is the one involved in it, knew exactly what was going on, and was able to carry out that act. And we'll see where the courts and see what the jury does with him. Oh, you're right, Jennifer, blue light. Uh, I forget that, so y'all have to remind me. Mrs. Steve normally does the blue light. For anyone that's new to the show, anytime someone supports the channel with a donation or membership, they get the blue light. Usually Mrs. Steve is over here, but she's asleep right now. She's not a one of the graveyard shift people. Yeah. You know, I assume the defense denies that's Alex's voice. Whose voice are they saying it is? No, I don't know if they're going to do that or not, but if they don't, they're going to have to come up. And I asked Dr. Susan today, um, and she's looking at it because I asked that very question. I said, well, what will the defense, will they go back that some type of trauma, memory loss from seeing the family? Is it some type of drug uh, 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 addiction or under the influence of drug memory loss? And I ran several things, and of course she was going to look at it and get me back an answer on that of in her professional opinion. And so I'll let you know what the defense may have to bring forth, because right now they and it may be simply that with all the witnesses that are standing by, 200 plus witnesses for the prosecution, that a lot of those just may be people that had relationships with the family that can say that's Paul's voice, and that's Paul with the dog, and that's Maggie's voice, and that's Albert's voice, and all these people may be part of that. That will have to stand up there and look at a man that they've known most of their life and say, yes, that's his voice. I've known it for years, and that's him. And you have a voice that's saying the name of the dog, and so you have to have someone that would be able to impersonate, that wouldn't make Maggie worry and know the name of their family pet, Bubba, because Bubba was the one with the chicken. Steve, you need to go to the next level. Iced coffee, nitro. Never had, I've tried iced coffee. I just don't like iced coffee. I do not. And it did. Boat accident changed a lot of people's lives. And that's what earlier question was about that. And part of the answer I gave was that there's going to be a lot of people's lives affected and have been affected by this family, and over the years, and now forever, starting with the boating accident, and then the other deaths of another young man that knew this family, and then other people that were employed, and so it's just absolutely unreal, the situations and what will be looked at and what revelations may come from this story. Rome the Gentleman. I'm interested now. I hadn't heard of this case. Absolutely. Just Google it and you'll be absolutely amazed at the different avenues and the extent of this crime. Yeah. It does appear that money is the root of all evil, Jeff. It's absolutely terrible what some people would do for money. All of the phone and tech testimony was fascinating to me. Also, I was absolutely, I did not, I knew of the technologies of some of these phones, but I did not know that just a phone would be able to tell you your steps and things of that, and the orientation of it, and yes, I've learned a lot about phones, and I'm sure now the defense had an excellent attorney on their side that had a lot of understanding of the technologies also, and did a fabulous job. And but I still believe that the prosecution won the battle. I thought the defense had made some headway when they were trying, and they had the story, because they had me convinced that Paul's at his truck cranking it. Not Paul, but Alex is at his truck cranking it, or the Suburban cranking it, and the phone's being thrown out the window a quarter to a half mile away at the same time. And I thought, that is interesting. And then when the redirect came up of the expert, and they were able to explain some of the that once the phone was the screen wasn't on, it no longer does that reporting. Absolutely amazing. Uh-oh. Hey, Tom. Good to see you. See, I'm getting better with blue light, Tom. There's your blue light, Tom. Appreciate it. Thank you for your support, sir. Jennifer. Thank you, Jennifer. You're getting it. You're getting it. Thank you. Is there any way for them to tell the order of victims? Yes. It would be easier if the victims were closer together. But generally, the first rule of thumb, whichever individual is the biggest threat is generally the one that is first victimized, which of course would have been Paul. Plus the accuracy of the shots. Someone that has well grouped or their injuries are closely spaced, which I think have a chest and head injury wounds to Paul, because that would show certain things. Now with Maggie, she has several gunshot wounds all over her body, which means that one, she was not so much, it was a rush, and it is indicative of someone that's in flight. You don't have that controlled grouping. And so looking at it from that standpoint, you have at least two organized shots, and then you have a chaos of a series of shots that's across the body, which means that someone may have taken flight. And the individual is either moving, trying to keep up, or trying to find a view of how to be able to shoot them. Because we don't know where the vehicles were parked. And it's possible that Maggie may have been running towards a vehicle that the shooter, if it is Alex, that she may have been running towards the vehicle, and he didn't want to shoot his vehicle. And so he had to get the right angle. Just guessing, not sure, don't know. But yeah, they'll be able, I'm guessing, speculating, but I would think Paul was first. Let's see here. Yes, and you're right. Thing about video evidence today, it does put him at the scene minutes before the time of the crime, and he has denied it. And the strongest point that this witness made today was when he looked at Alex and said that he had made and told everyone that Alex was at the scene. He was 99% sure of it at that point. And he was on that video, and that Alex didn't deny it at that time, which is huge. And I don't know how the defense will overcome that. And I don't think they will. I think there's going to be some type of change of story. Because we know the story, we know the events. The jury is sitting there and they know not what we know. They don't know all the, that there's other videos and all the other information that we taken for granted. And so we have a far greater understanding of certain parts of the case. Now, by the time all the evidence is presented, the jury will have a superior knowledge of the case than we, because they've sat there every day, and they'll understand it far better than us, and they'll hopefully render a just verdict. Uh, let's see here. Jennifer, chicken is my favorite food. I love chicken too. Every self-respecting Georgia boy loves chicken. There ain't no doubt. Um, though, yes, Ann says, in the Murdaugh case, though, I still don't understand how a planned killing son and wife would have benefited defendant. That's why my scenario is some sort of family argument flared up and defendant snapped. That's a possibility, and something that they will look at. But I don't know what life insurance is. I don't know if the death of Paul would have brought some type of ending to the lawsuit against him and against the family. I don't know if it would have brought sympathy on the family of the homicide, and then the case would have been dropped. When you're talking to these individuals that do and commit crimes such like as this, um, they're not rational. Individual that will kill a young man and his mother in such a manner, you're not dealing with rational thought. You're dealing with some type of less human, absolute evil that has no ability to process information. Jocelyn, I'm a night owl. Good. Let's see here. I'm just reading through chat, trying to get caught up here. I'm way behind. Like I said, so you bet that hunting dog wants to curl up on the couch too. I've got not a hunting dog, but I got baby Steve's dog right up there right now on the couch, curled up. Let's see. Uh, and as far as the motive, uh, the prosecution doesn't have to give the exact motive. Um, and it's good to have it, but it's not required in law. Let's see here. Hog Defender. Hey, how are you? I thought Blue Light was on again. I saw a comment about Blue Light. I'm liable to leave it on. This is Steve does sometime. Pigeon Act. Dave, Dave, Dave said, I threw my dog a ball once and he looked at me like, what's wrong with you? That's funny. Oh, man. Let's see. Let's try and get caught up here, guys. I'm getting there. Yes, it is. Yeah, there's a lot of parallels with how evil people do, and it is like a movie. Absolutely. Trying to get caught up here, guys. Just don't want to miss anybody, and I'm sure I will miss several people. Um, okay. Mr. Steve, would you say that type of gun identifies the type of weapon used in the crime was more of a hunting gun than the type of gun a hired killer would use or some random gangster? Um, any firearm is dangerous. Any firearm could be used for the commission of a crime. And shotguns are extremely lethal. And I've used them many times in my duties for different things. And and but and they will get attention, and they are extremely lethal, as in this case. And the other firearm, the AR platform, can be used for anything from recreational shooting to sporting, such as they used them to hunt hog. And then, of course, it's wound up a gun of that type was used in this homicide. And guns um, can absolutely, in the hands of evil, do evil things. And that's what happened here. But almost any gun, any caliber, any setup, from a single shot to some of these sporting guns or AR platforms, all of them can be used for evil. And what is the answer of how to control them? I don't think this country will ever figure that out. That's for people far smarter than I, and I'm not for gun control. There's a lot of people that are, but I'm not. Um, and I saw what guns can do, but I've also seen people saved by them that would not have stood a chance if they hadn't had the ability to protect themselves. And I've seen that on more than one occasion. So, um, uh, and that's a great debate that will always be out there. My understanding is 200 witnesses is for the prosecution. I think there's like 30 something for the defense. Why two different guns? Trying to make it seem like two people. And there may be a possibility there is another individual. We don't know yet. I'm up in the air about that. The guns have sling on them, so the slings allow the ease of carrying multiple platforms. You know, on our tactical units, we have a holster gun, and then we'll have some type of platform of AR, or there's several different types of tactical weapon systems out there, from a shotgun to some of the AR platforms that we use on some of our special teams. And they come with a sling so that you can transition from one platform to the next. In case something happens and one platform runs out and you need or it jams or something, and it's no longer, it turns into just a paperweight. And there's nothing worse in a firefight than carrying a paperweight. But it could be one individual trying to make it look like two, or it could be two individuals. There's a true crime where I made a little donation on your PayPal for your bag of forensic tricks. Hope it helps. You do such selfless work. Thank you. That means a lot to me. Appreciate it. There's your blue light. I was at the store today picking up some items for our. I'm going to create a lot of different things, and I'm going to be shipping it off to Chris, and he's going to be assisting me in assembling this because it's a big project, and I'm looking forward to what our collaboration looks like. But thank you, Fuser. I appreciate that. Steve, do you get some pushback from other law enforcement for doing true crime? No, I mean, as long as I speak the truth, what they're going to do. I've never worried about that in my life. And the officers, all of officers that are still in the profession, are still sworn officers and are enforcing the laws and defending the Constitution. And that's all I do also. I'll defend the Constitution, to defend innocent people and fight for innocent people to my dying day, regardless if I wear a badge or not. Who wants to attack me for stating my own opinion? And that's not the what happens in law enforcement. Law enforcement officers are just people from your community. They're just the typical law enforcement officer, the 99.9% of the population of law enforcement out there that are working to do a certain job. They're just like you. There's no difference. They just don't like bullies, predators that search out and attack our children, our senior citizens, and abuse others and prey upon others. They just, we just don't like that. And some of us, we take up the calling and we go out there, we put on that uniform, and some of us have great careers, and some of them go out there and throw their careers away and become part of the criminal element. Makes no sense to me. But no, I'll never, they don't say anything to me. If they do, I'll tell them they're idiots. What their problem is, because how could you argue with someone that's trying to have an impact on to the good for society? I've been in quite a few cuss fights in squadron. When somebody did some idiot, made some idiot move, I tell them, that's about the dumbest thing I've ever heard. No, it's not. Yeah, this is weird. It's the prosecution always wants to. Patricia says it's weird that they don't have to present a motive, as it's the most important most important factor of a crime, and it does play an important part of it. But it's not necessary by law that you prove exactly why. You just have to prove that they did commit the crime and they violated the statute, not for the reason why, because people can do it for a lot of different reasons. They can do it for power, they can do it for money, they can do it out of anger, and there's different charges for those, and so there's a lot of different reasons. Yeah, he's Alex is quite the individual, and he did abuse the system about as much as any one individual could, from just about how many different ways could you violate as an officer of the court, of taking money from your clients, taking scamming insurance companies, scamming families to create lawsuits so that you can benefit. Absolutely amazing. And so it's not hard to make that leap that an individual that would do this would make that leap to commit such a crime. And of course, that won't be brought up. I don't think it could be. I don't think it will. Though. Okay, I missed what Pigeon did. What did Pigeon say? I'm missing what Pigeon? I missed it. I'm sorry. Um, and says the reason I asked about the gun type is the defense is floating at least one alternate scenario that the families that the homicides were committed by a random gang on the property. The random gang, and they'll come up with some fantastic story, but when you make a fantastic story, and which now Alex has blown that ability that um, of that option for the fact that he says he's napping and evidently he's sleepwalking. and that and if that comes out to be the case, that oh, he was sleepwalking, he didn't know he was there, um, I don't know what I'll do. But I can see that happening. For some reason, I can see that happening. Hadn't even thought about it, but and Dwayne's Prospecting Adventures. I got your email, and I will be getting in touch with you, Dwayne. Only way to stop a bad person with a gun is a good person with a gun. That's what law enforcement officers take and swear to do, and sometimes they absolutely do exactly what they're trained to do. And unfortunately, in the last year or so, we saw some failure of officers to react, and I have no mercy on those either. You when you take up that job that you're going to protect and serve, I'll hold you to it. And if you fail to do so, I'll hold you to it. And I have no use for those that seek out reasons of why they won't act when there's only one course of action. So, Betty here. Betty says, it's hard being a Jersey girl living in the South trying to understand all the Southern nuances. Glad you're here to help us understand, Mr. Steve. Um, I've been, I try to make everyone understand a little bit, but I, I, I hope that you're enjoying your time here in the South because it is, I've been, uh, I spent a little bit of time crossing the country uh, during my career, from New Jersey to going out to California. Didn't spend a lot of time, but out of the state of Georgia. But certain cases, I got to work a homicide where I went and interviewed um, an individual up in New Jersey, and then out in Mississippi. So I got to travel on a couple of homicides doing that. Actually, it was the same homicide. It was just in multiple states. And then I had the pleasure of making trips, either picking up prisoners or transporting prisoners to other states. I always liked prisoner transport. Let's see. And Ella James, where there's a will, there's a way, with or without weapons. And that's true. Over the ages, there's been a lot of different wars fought with everything from sticks to rocks, and regardless, and even now, people will take up whatever they're um, have access to. I've seen homicides committed with everything from hammers to knives, um, and seen people attacked with golf clubs, baseball bats, you name it. If it's handy, and people will pick it up and hit somebody with it. Let's see here. Yeah, I think there was a $50 million. Oh, is that a hard question? I don't know. I may have missed what the question was. I'm sorry if I missed it. I appreciate that joke, Jennifer. That's anyone that has gone through what you've gone through over the last few weeks and able to make that comment is absolutely priceless. Oh man. Well, I hate that you have to leave, Jill, but uh, I'm glad that you were able to join us for what time you did. Yes, they always said that people have what you see is not always the what's under the cover of the book, and so absolutely, you can't never tell. Let's see here. In the jury phase of the trial, the lady who was calling the jurors' numbers sounded exactly like Mrs. Steve. I've got to go back and look at that. Um, in the Snapchat videos, you can hear the water turn on. It's on so long. I'm curious, was it a distraction and to flood the ground to prevent evidence sticking? I don't know if it was normal procedures of how they washed out the kennels. I have no idea. I can some of the testing I'm about to do has to do with some water, and so I may be able to answer some of that question on one of our theories of why there was so much water. We'll see in a couple of days. Oh my goodness, I miss living in the South. No one understands my Southernisms in D.C. Um, I went to the FBI crime lab um, in D.C. and dropped off some evidence once. Had a great time. Jill says, I'm not in bed yet. I absolutely love your soothing voice and your perspective. Thank you. That's very kind of you. And that is Jennifer brings up a good point. There's zero reason for a gun like that, in my opinion. There are certain platforms out there that, and I don't know what the answer is. Like I said, there will always be that debate, and our country is at a point that I don't think you'll ever um, be able to address all the issues about that and how will they answer it. I don't know what it will be. Our Constitution is there, and it creates a point of argument, and we're always going to have firearms because there's not any guarantee. As I was a law enforcement officer, we can't always be when crimes are happening, and generally we get there 5, 10, 20 minutes, hour late. And there's no guarantees that even when we get there that we're able to handle the situation. But whereas there are going to be times that certain platforms, and when I say platforms, different types of guns, might be able to handle the situation if someone chooses to use it in the appropriate manner. And so, like I said, it's a hard issue to debate, and it will always be there. And I absolutely believe that everyone that pushes for gun control absolutely should, because somewhere between the absolute gun control and the absolute right to gun, somewhere in the middle there is the answer. And we have to have both sides arguing exactly how they feel to the deepest of their heart, and fight for their reasoning for the fact that that's what will at some point hopefully answer it. And so I have no problem with people saying that I have absolutely no right to certain types of weapons. I have no problem with that. And I agree that certain guns should not be out there available to certain people. And how do we control that? It's extremely difficult, and I don't know what the answer is, but it will be answered at some point. So like I said, I have no problem with people out there that don't believe or want to push for absolute gun control. Go for it. I support you 100%. But I also am a person that supports the right to carry. All right. Let me see if I can get caught back up the chat here. Oh, me. Let's see. Yes, I want to thank my mods, Lady M. That's very nice of you to remind me. And absolutely, I couldn't do this, especially this time of night, without my mods, because Mrs. Steve was asleep, and I have no idea whenever Mrs. Steve is helping me on the show. I don't have to look at chat. I never see chat. She's over here on hers, and she just puts whatever's on the screen is the only time I ever see what's going on. And so I have to go back sometime and watch the shows to try to get some type of understanding of what's going on. And so I miss some of the jokes and things out there. There's an attachment you can get or make that can fire 120 rounds per minute. That's terrifying to you. And like I said, speak your mind. Absolutely. There's certain things out there that have, for whatever reason, people, they want to do certain things. And I don't understand all of that. I'm not into 120 rounds a minute. Although I think about 20 rounds a minute, I can get pretty close just with my finger. Yeah, I understand some people feel sick as not hurt, but sick as a big dog. I don't know. Um, oh, a lot of experience with that. My finger, you know, out the stay safe there, and to be learners. I enjoyed it, and y'all for